Drenching rain and strong winds 2 days. Highs will again surge into the 90s, but that's half the story. We have elevated humidity, so the heat index, how it feels in your skin, that should climb above 100 degrees for many communities in the Northeast. Here we are, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There may be a stray shower thunderstorm, but hazy, hot, and humid conditions, that's pretty much going to be the rule. That will extend into Thursday. We have a greater chance for thunderstorms Thursday afternoon.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. On the radar, we are not expecting much to come our way on future scan. All the rain and thunderstorm activity likely to stay off to the north. We are going to stay dry and pretty hot. Your Wednesday is not going to be as humid, but still temperatures reaching around 90 degrees or so. As we move into Thursday, expect temperatures to reach at least 90 degrees, possibly in the mid-90s. And the humidity will be back, making it feel hotter. And we peak with the heat this weekend.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. A look at our highs for this afternoon. We are going to be in the upper 80s and low 90s across the area. Still flirting with record highs up in the panhandle of Florida, mid 90s. Then we're going to stay under that heat dome throughout the rest of this week. For most of the southeast, we have winds pushing onshore for Florida, expecting isolated showers there and along the coast of the Carolinas and Georgia. That pattern continues. A more wet pattern establishes for the latter half of this work week there.
The National Weather Desk.
A wildfire raging in New Mexico has killed at least one person and injured 2 other people. New Mexico fire officials are estimating that nearly 1,400 structures have been lost and roughly 8,000 people evacuated. The governor declaring a state of emergency in Lincoln County and Mescalero Apache Reservation. Julia Spencer has more.
Well, there was flames. It was probably 20, 30 feet tall coming through the woods. Looked like a train coming across the road. You know, flames flying across and starting fires on the opposite side of the highway and stuff.
It is an incredibly tragic environment, and no money is ever enough to bring back both memories and livelihoods.
One day after 2 fires erupted in a matter of hours, the governor of New Mexico declared a state of emergency to help fight those fires.
We started packing some stuff up, still surreal because Ruidoso has never been evacuated like this before, the whole thing.
Jenny Lively knew this was different than anything she'd seen before. Piles of ash, burnt out cars, and a blackened forest. She also says she could feel this was different.
It was strange for me because I've grown up with this. My instinct said, go back in the house, that's where you're safe. And my brain was like, no, you know that's not it.
Some people say they barely made it out in time.
Well, my husband, he came across right before the road shut down to the highway up on the summit. They had already started the roadblock and everything, and he was one of the very last ones to get through.
Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham says that she's already working to get help from the federal government. But she'll also make sure the state does everything it can, even when the fire is over.
The federal government is incredibly responsive about these emergencies in general. That includes FEMA.
In the meantime, she's thankful to see people come together to help New Mexicans in need.
And in California, new wildfires are causing issues for firefighters just as they were making, some sort of headway containing a large post fire that started over the weekend. Now, the Sites fire erupted Monday and is still burning and growing at this point. CAL FIRE says it's now at 10,000 acres with just 15% contained. Muna Sadiq spoke with officials who say high winds and low humidity are making it difficult to battle the flames.
We haven't had a fire season the last couple of years, so this is the first one of the year.
Travis Moniz was one of a few onlookers peering at the smoke from the Sites fire from the Maxwell Town Center Tuesday.
There's not a lot of up there, just a lot of brush and a lot of grass to burn, a lot of cow country. Just glad to take all the cows off the mountain.
He helps run BM Bar Custom Meats in Maxwell with his father, a retired volunteer firefighter who he says is helping battle the fire right now.
Yeah, no, just hope and pray everybody's doing good on these fires and everybody gets out all right. Should be fine, but just pray for all the firemen and all the fire crews that are helping out.
CAL FIRE says it won't be an easy firefight because of winds and some steep terrain. They have ground and aerial crews working around the clock.
A big component is going to be continue to construct and reinforce those control lines. And with the dozer work, that's a big component that's going to have.
A Type 1 Incident Command Center now set up at the Colusa County Fairgrounds for both the Sites Fire and the Point Fire in Sonoma County, convening law enforcement, public information officials, fire crews, and other emergency response teams.
We are going to be on this fire for several days. At this point, we don't know a time frame. We're going to have a lot of work ahead of us as far as mop-up operations. So going into the interior fire and starting to extinguish a fire.
You know, one of the causes of wildfires is doing yard work in the dry and humid weather. Sarah McCoy has tips on shrinking that risk.
If you have to mow the lawn, it's best to do it before 10 a.m.
First thing in the morning, the temperatures are lowest, the humidities are highest. The chances of you potentially, accidentally starting a fire are lower than later in the day, but it's still there, right?
CAL FIRE also wants to remind people that lawn mowers are for lawns and metal blades can spark fires when hitting rocks and venturing into dry weeds or grass. Sanchez says while he doesn't want any part in the gas versus electric debate, he uses electric himself.
The gas equipment has spark arresters and it's being well maintained, and the same thing with the electric, it's being well maintained. You're using the appropriate tools for the job. You're going to minimize the possibility of starting a fire.
Sanchez also says to be careful when filling the tanks for gas equipment because there doesn't always need to be direct contact between the fuel and the heat, and that just the vapors themselves can ignite a fire. CAL FIRE Shasta Trinity County PIO Jazz Shaw also recommends starting yard work early.
To have a water source available in case anything happens, and also have a shovel handy. So definitely trying to reduce any sparks or rock strikes. So earlier the better, absolutely.
CAL FIRE recommends keeping the exhaust system, spark arresters, and mower in proper working order and free of carbon buildup.
While much of the country has been dealing with extreme heat, portions of Nebraska were hit by several storms earlier this week, producing high winds, intense rain, and also hail. Alexis Sander looks at the impacts of the storm had on farmers in the region.
It hailed off and on here for about an hour and a half. Unfortunately, when it let up in the intensity, the hailstones got larger. This corn was about waist high yesterday morning. As you can see now, it is definitely got mowed down pretty good.
Mr. Peters' corn isn't the only crop that was affected by the hail.
We have about 800 acres of seed production wheat around here that got heavily damaged. And the potential yield for it was around 120 bushels an acre. And now I would say there's probably 10 bushels an acre, and there is literally 100 bushels an acre wheat on the ground out in these fields.
Those with crops in the field cannot avoid a situation like the one Peters dealt with. Others have a chance to be proactive by moving their assets inside.
We watched it, and there's not much else you can do but watch it, and the whole ground was completely covered with white hail, and there was nothing we could do about it.
Monarch butterflies are gorgeous, but these insects are more than just a pretty sight. They are also pretty important for the environment. Meteorologist Grayson Frund shows us how you can make sure they stick around.
This week is National Pollinator Week, highlighting the importance of pollinators in our environment, like bees, birds, bats, and butterflies. Monarch butterflies specifically are a flagship species, meaning they've been chosen to raise support for biodiversity because of their charisma.
They're one of the only species of butterflies that migrate, and it actually takes 3 generations of monarchs to travel the distance.
Monarchs play a critical part in the food web. They pollinate plants, which attract other insects, which will then become food for other animals.
And since they migrate 3,000 miles, they're connected to multiple ecosystems. And so if they were to decline, it would impact all those ecosystems across North America.
And if you want to help, there are certain plants and flowers you can plant in your gardens to help feed these pollinators.
It's called Pycnanthemum hairy mountain mint. Over 80 different species of pollinators use this plant, which is just astonishing. Like, if everyone had this plant in their yard, it would make such a difference for pollinators.
Pollinators are responsible for every 1 in 3 bites of food we eat. Just an example of how important they are to the food web.
Wow, interesting. And time now for a short break, but first we take flight over Asheville, North Carolina.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. A battle between the 70s across the northern plains and the 90s across the Ohio Valley. We got some thunderstorms in between those two air masses. As we continue on into your Thursday, still some 70s to the north. Look at that 69 there in South Dakota, but 90s all across the south and eastern portions of the Midwest. By the time that we continue on into your Friday, 70s and 90s once again with some scattered storms.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Starting off pretty nice overall out across North Texas, Louisiana, but a little humid as you get down toward the south. We're watching tropical development there really push in a lot of moisture and some rain. Stretching all the way from Houston, San Antonio down into the valley. We'll watch that push out toward the west today, as this is likely going to be a tropical storm before it's over with. Otherwise, temperatures impacted by clouds. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Hi, everybody. I'm Theron Zalma. Look at the forecast for the western United States. High pressure playing a big part of what's going on out west. Area of low pressure, though, to the north around Montana, northern Idaho will actually bring some rain and some mountain snow. But these hot temperatures here in the southwest, 101 in Las Vegas, 105 for Phoenix. Excessive heat remains. Out on the coast, though, a bit cooler. Only 62 for San Francisco and 70 for LA. That's the scene from out here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Tomorrow is the official start of summer, and if you use a ceiling fan, that means you should probably change the direction the fan is spinning. Meteorologist Sharon Ray explains.
Well, as we're heading into the summer months, our reminder is to check your ceiling fan. Make sure it is set for the summer setting, which is a counterclockwise flow. There's a button there you can hit at the top of most ceiling fans to change that to counterclockwise, because that pushes the air straight downward and gives you more of a wind chill effect and helps you stay a little cooler in the summer. In the winter setting, if you leave it there, that's going to take the heat, which is building and rising toward the ceiling, and make it come down along the walls and back down to the ground. So you might want to check that.
Okay, we invite you to watch our special Superstorms, which takes a close look at the 2024 hurricane season. Either scan the code or head over to our YouTube page. We look at why the season could be so active, examine the roles new technology is playing in hurricane forecasting, and tour a very unique hurricane resilient house as well. And for more great weather content, check us out on social media. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.